Hi, and welcome to Appen Media's Georgia Politics Podcast. I am Lindsay Coates, and today I am joined by Case Norton, running for Georgia House District 7. Welcome, Case.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so glad you could make it. So, first, before we get started, what's your favorite dinosaur?
Ooh, I would say a Spinosaurus. And a fun fact about that, when my son was on his first birthday, I actually bought two Spinosaurus teeth. So we have Spinosaurus teeth for him in the
Okay,
other
like
room.
legit
Legit.
dinosaur. All
Yep.
right. That rolled off pretty easily. So, all right, we'll let it stick. So, let's get started. You were born in Indianapolis, raised in California, San
Mhm.
Luis Obispo.
San Luis
And
Obispo. Yep.
yep, and educated out there. Somehow you ended up running for Congress in Georgia. So walk me through as a kid and how you feel like you got here.
So it all started. No, it all started in
Yeah.
1989. I was born in Indianapolis. I lived there for hours. I was adopted at birth. My family had already been living elsewhere, and so we moved all around the East Coast for about 3 years, and then my father got a job out in California when I was three, so we moved out to California. We were there until I graduated through college or through high school. I had started working in the film industry. I was really interested in the film industry as a kid, and I always wanted to be involved in some way or another. And so I got my first kind of break when I was about 17 years old. I was able to work on a movie out in San Luis Obispo, which was unheard of at the time. But I quit my paying job. I joined on to be a free, unpaid kind of intern production assistant, and I fell in love with it. I really did. I fell in love with the camaraderie, the collaboration, and just the technical skills it takes to get through a day on set. And so I followed my passion, went to film school, moved down to Los Angeles when I was 19, did school for 4 years at Cal State Northridge, met my wife actually in college. Not in college, but I met her while I was in college. We were working on set together. And we hit it off, and a couple years later, we got married, started having a family. We wanted to buy a house in 2020 in February, and that COVID came, and so that totally wiped out our options for housing at the time.
Mhm.
And so we had a growing family at the time, a second kid on the way, and we just decided that Los Angeles was no longer serving us with the downturn of the industry and where things were financially. We just wanted to look elsewhere. And so that's when we decided to take a leap of faith and go somewhere we had never been before, and that's Sandy Springs or Atlanta, Metro, Georgia. And so
Excellent.
we've been here ever since, and going on 5 years now. But I'm still in the film industry. I'm still a working candidate, but we've had so many downturns in our industry from
Mhm.
a financial perspective because we have a lot of private equity in the film industry now. And from that alone, and just wanting to save money on any way they can, whether that be locations or health insurance, which is a big thing. Productions are going to want to save the money. So unfortunately, writers got their strikes, actors got their strike, but they can, and they got their deal, but they can work wherever. I mean, the writers can write from Nebraska, they can write from Kuala Lumpur. Actors and directors are going to be wherever the movie is. And crew wise, there's some pretty decent crew members all around the world. And a lot of times, if it's shooting out overseas, the American crew is not going to come, unfortunately. So a lot of folks in my state, and let alone in the industry as a whole, have been hit by that. And so I couldn't sit by any longer and just let that happen, let our industry crumble, and let there be no one to stick up for the people in not only the film industry, but to everyone that this is happening to, right? We're seeing so many ways that people are getting the short end of the stick, for lack of a better term. And I know that we can do better. And all it really takes is people getting in there who actually care about people and who want to do better and who want a government that actually works.
Yeah, it's interesting because you mentioned the film. Obviously, you're in it, right? So, and people tend to glamorize it and think and Hollywood stars and all that stuff. You know it, and they don't. I think typically think about all the other people supporting that industry, raising their families, trying to get that are still just trying to make ends meet
Mhm.
at the end of the day. So it's good to put a face with that. Have you found it much different, LA versus Atlanta scene?
So actually, I've been out in LA majority of my career, but the
Mhm.
caliber of work and the people that I've worked with, I feel like it's a better. They're more family friendly, let's just say here.
Okay. Okay.
In LA, you might, not get called back for various reasons. But out here, they're very understanding. And then, like I said, the caliber of work has been really great. I'm actually going to a
Great.
night shoot tonight. That was last minute. So, the work, like I said, I have a job tonight, which is great. And I couldn't be any happier with that. And the work is coming back, but regardless, there's still bigger issues at play. One of the biggest things that we were hit with upon moving to Georgia was losing our health insurance. We've lost our health insurance twice, and the first round that we had to do to get back on insurance when we had a 1 month old daughter was Cobra, and that was more than our rent,
Yeah.
and we were paying that for 4 months. I
Yeah.
mean, that completely decimated our savings or whatever we could have at the time. And now with the lack of work as well, as of at least a year ago, in my industry, in my line of work, you have to work a certain amount of hours in a 6 month period to qualify for employer-based health insurance. We weren't getting the hours, so naturally we lost the insurance. And I've gone without. I'm actually still without, so I'm kind of just praying every day that everything goes okay.
Yeah.
My wife is luckily on her work, on her employer's one, which is great, and my kids are on Medicaid. But regardless, people don't have that safety net. People don't have, people might not have the means to pay for health insurance, or they might not have the opportunity to be on They might make just too much for Medicaid or just too little to actually get help. And there's so many issues that we can do to fix that. We just need, like I said, we just need someone in there who really wants to do that and wants to get things done pretty quickly. I don't want to be one of those congressmen who says something and then waits 3 years to actually make progress on it. People are hurting now. People need the help
Mhm.
now. So,
Just getting everybody else on board.
yep, really is.
You touched on something and it struck me because I was going to ask you like you had this long extensive career in this industry and kind of what that's taught you or the early lessons, but it seems because being in film, being one of the top cameramen in the hierarchy of like that kind of thing, like you it doesn't necessarily translate to skills that you'd think a congressman would need.
That's
Yet here
true.
you are talking to me about various things and pain points that you've experienced working in that industry. So it does somewhat lend. So you tell me,
Hmm.
like, what
So
skills?
what I've actually found now that our race is locked in the Democratic
Mhm,
primary in Georgia, because we qualifying week was last week. um, I've met my challengers, my opponents as well, and we are all very unique. We're all very different, which is nice. And so it seems like my lane, which I'm great with, is more like the grassroots working class dad who has lived through bad policy. And
mhm,
and really, that's, I've the lived experiences that I have through healthcare loss, through jobs moving overseas, through not wanting my immigrant neighbors to be snatched up in the middle of the night. Um, all these things really, you know, I've lived through, or I've felt in some way or another, and I just care. I don't know. There's
yeah,
nothing in the film industry that made me care, but I was raised to treat others the way you would want to be treated, and to love thy neighbor. I mean, I was raised Catholic. I don't practice anymore, but I still carry those values with me in my day-to-day life, and I try to teach my kids the same thing. Um, and it really, we just need someone who cares.
yeah,
I don't care to pad my wallet. They make a good enough salary in Congress. And if the fact that people in Congress have the amount of power that they have, and
mhm,
most of them don't use it for good, it
mhm,
just baffles me. And I know that if we at least have someone as an option, which that's what my campaign is about, then we can at least give people the opportunity to change things for themselves in their area.
exactly. Your wife, Jackie, she's a makeup artist in the industry as well.
Hairstylist, not in the industry
Hairstylist.
anymore. She's at a salon now. Yeah.
Oh, she is. Okay. So, you mentioned y'all met on a set together. What does she think about you running for Congress in one of the toughest Republican districts? Sorry to laugh about it. I'm in this
No,
district.
I know. She is actually really supportive of it. She's been supportive since day one. She was not really apprehensive at all. She was actually one of the people who, when I had posed the question,
Mhm.
she was like, "Yeah, why not? Like, you're
Yeah.
doing all these other things. You're capable. There's no bar the bar is really low, unfortunately. You just
Yeah.
have to be the certain age, and you have to live in the state. You don't even have to live in the district. I just so happen to actually live in the district as well. But the qualifications are super low. My industry was kind of tanking, and she said, "You know what? Give it a shot." And I'm still working, so there's sacrifices to be made.
Right.
But overall, she's excited. I mean, she's seen
Good.
the feedback from people. She's seen the earned media that we're getting, and that alone speaks volumes, I think. And so we're
Yeah.
really proud of that. She's really proud of that. She's excited. She's on board.
Good. You've talked openly about navigating special needs care for your family, and without getting into anything that you want to keep private, but how has that experience shaped the way you think about healthcare and policy?
So that's a great question. Both of my children are neurodivergent. They're two separate s- ends of the spectrum, essentially. So they definitely have their needs. And when they were younger, when we had insurance, they were on, PT, OT, which is physical therapy, occupational therapy. There was a speech therapy as well. There's a myriad of things that helped them through that. And I know that if those weren't available or if there weren't special programs at their schools, then they wouldn't they'd probably be a little bit more behind than they are now. My
Hmm.
daughter, my youngest, she's 4 now, but she is at a regular kind of preschool, and then she also goes 1 day a week to a school that has a program specifically for autistic children that need a little bit more help with speech. It's essentially for speech,
Yeah.
and it's been such a great program. And I know that if they were to defund that or pull any funding from that, then that's going to put such a huge burden on the parents who are
Hmm.
already trying to make ends meet and trying to do right by their kids in this economy as it is. And so, I think it's really important to keep these programs funded and to actually look into them more and to look into funding them more because um, I think too often autistic kids they have a label and they're not actually like heard out. They're not actually listened to. Most of them are very brilliant. I mean, both
Yeah.
my children are like brilliant in their own ways. And I think they get categorized as like special needs or something, and it gets like pushed to the wayside. Where when you hear some of the teachers talking about my kids, and when they actually just have a conversation with them, they're like, these kids are so great. They're so like ahead of their time, or
Yeah.
they're so nuanced, right? And so, yeah, I mean, just from a personal standpoint, from being a father of them, they need all the help they can get, and it's really at no detriment to anyone else. And we should want that for every child. We should want equal access to opportunities. And
Hmm.
if someone else has a handicap, I will say it as like a golf term, a
Yeah.
handicap, right? Not like,
Yeah.
you know what I
It's
mean? I don't even play golf. I just have a golf course by me, so I keep saying
right.
that. Um, but if they need a little bit of help to get on the same playing field, then we should absolutely do everything we can for them because they're the future. And instead of keeping them behind in any way, we should want better for them.
Yeah. Completely agree. I want better for all your kids. I don't care how you vote.
Right, right.
I just want better for all of them. Um, you've talked about how your family has faced rough times when industries shut down, choosing which bills to pay, fighting with insurance, and it takes a lot. And how do you how do you keep that rooted? How do you keep that like piece of you that you've experienced from becoming just a talking point, right? Like, how do you make sure your anger over the system stays real despite like not wanting to live in a place of anger all the time?
Yeah. Well, one thing I do know, and I've calculated this out. I've run the numbers on this. When we get elected, uh, the salary is going to be great. The salary is going to get rid of a lot of the pressures that we've felt. It's not going to be overnight. It's going to be a process, but it's going to help a lot. But
Mhm.
get, I'm not going to forget where we came from, the struggle was, because so many people, not only in my industry, but in my neighborhood, in my community, all over the state and nationwide, are dealing with the same problems. We
Mhm.
are essentially paying for the F ups of either bad policy or of billionaire lobbyists
Or
that want,
wars that aren't
or
ours.
wars that aren't ours, right? Um,
Yeah.
I'm really, and I truly hope that if I ever, God forbid, start to veer off from my initial message, that people call me out. Because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like, we need to be held accountable. We can't lose
Hmm.
sight of who we are. This is who I am. This is the struggle. That everything that I have gone through has been a stepping stone to get us where we are. And so I don't want to push those aside and be like, oh, well,
Yeah.
now we have the salary, so we don't have to do our job anymore. That's just the beginning. That's the segue of being able to talk to people in the community and understanding that I've felt exactly what they feel, what they're feeling. How can I help them?
Yeah. And that empathy. You, this is a big district.
Mhm,
And it spans north and north down to Sandy Springs and up north. And with that comes so many different um, across the political spectrum,
mhm,
right? But we are in a heavy R+11
mhm.
district. And so when you're going to be in Forsyth or up that way, Dahlonega, what are you going to say? How do you react when it's like, I hear socialism. This sounds like a lot of socialism. How do you respond to that? What's your 30-second answer?
I want to actually flip the script and ask them what their definition is, or ask them how they feel that that word negatively affects their life. Because whether it's socialist or progressive, these are very real things that I am going to deal with for the further north we go in my district, and
Hmm.
that's just a reality of what it is. And that's fine. I'm willing to have that conversation with them. But I think at the end of the day, we need to understand that these words aren't like boogeyman words.
Hmm.
If we really get to a mutual understanding of what that means, and that it
Hmm.
doesn't mean that their taxes are going to go up, at least not under my plan. My plan is to not have it touch anyone making, under 120,000 single and 250 probably for married. These companies run every aspect of our lives and every aspect of how things move in our economy, and yet we're the ones that have to pay the taxes to for things to be better, not the ones that are making it.
Yeah.
Um, so I think I'm more than happy to have that conversation with them, and I'm actually very welcoming of that. I want that discourse to be had, because I don't want it to just be a talking point of, oh, he's a leftist, he's a progressive,
Hmm.
he's bad, he wants open borders, he wants everyone to come in, he wants everyone to be LGBTQ or trans.
Hmm.
Like, that's not. Let's simmer
Tone it
down.
down. Yeah.
Like, let's tone it down, because that if we actually want to talk about all those things, we can. But they don't affect them most of the time.
Right.
And someone else's decision or choice to be who they are or who they love has no impact on their life. It really
Yeah.
doesn't. Um,
And it's the juxtaposition of like the corporate welfare being
mhm.
okay versus
Yeah.
it's not okay for the average American or the low income American. And it's like, why is that one okay? And just kind of like talking through those things. Um, you have talked about capping predatory APRs.
Mhm.
Crack down on rent manipulation, going after grocery price fixing. So, is there a specific industry that you'd want to tackle first or a specific corporation? And if so, why?
So there's not necessarily a specific corporation. It's another one of those things where we've felt the struggle. I mean, we had to do what we had to do to get by for a couple years. Our credit was not the best, and any attempt to try to get help or a loan or credit or anything was met by, like, what should have been illegally astronomical APRs that
Hmm.
I just laughed at. And I'm like, there's no one is going to take this thing. Otherwise, they would go into debt for all eternity for $500 or $1,000 or whatever it ends up being. You're going to end up paying 20 times over that.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
there's I mean, so the fact that any companies can do this, and I need to look into this more, absolutely, on the worst offenders. Um, but it's more just overall, right? It's more
Yeah.
of seeing these horrible APRs, or getting an overdraft fee on something that decided to come out for $1.99, then you pay $36.99 because of the overdraft fee, and it
Yeah.
just keeps stacking because the payroll had an issue on getting to you on time or whatever. The banks don't care about that. There's just so many things that are working against the everyday person, especially when banks decide when they want to take things out, and there's really
Yeah.
no oversight on that. it's just ridiculous. And we need to have a oversight on so many more things that that are not being looked
Yeah.
at.
It is. It's a gross industry that does take advantage of the most vulnerable in their time of need. And I've
Yeah.
had the experience with a friend of mine who got themselves into a predatory loan through their car. Just found debt here, wanted to get that done. The car wasn't anyway.
Yeah.
So, and ended up we had to sell her liquidate funds. Luckily, she got to stay there, but
Yeah.
it was just
Just the hassle though. I mean, it's
felt
just
so poor. Like, God, it's just gross. Okay. Last February, let's talk McCormick,
hmm
which I have a special spot in my seventh circle of hell for him. Um, last February, he did a town hall here in Roswell
hmm
that a lot, myself included, attended and went viral. It overflowed, people couldn't get in, and they were furious about Doge and Musk and all that stuff. And it ended up shutting down town halls nationally from Republicans. And he has yet to do that. He doesn't respond to any constituent calls or emails that I've
hmm
seen. Maybe he is for if he knows you're a Republican or a donor. Um, but what does that tell you about what's happening in this district right now?
It tells me we're not being represented by someone
Yeah,
who actually wants to show up. I mean, at the end of the day, he did have a virtual town hall that I was able to attend in
that's right.
February this year,
Did he allow
but it
questions on that?
no, but you could type it in at the bottom, but also there it was like 50 minutes and it was like very specific questions
Uh-huh.
were being asked, excuse me. And so it just felt like staged and
Hmm.
poorly planned. One of the biggest things that was asked there was, when are you going to have another in person? And he said May, as if 15 months in between in-person town halls is somehow acceptable for a United States representative. One of the things that I'm going to change for that is we have 6 counties, 3 full and 3 partial. 12 months. I want to have one every 6 months in each county. That way, there's one every single month. People can come to any one they want. They can come to one that's more local to them. That way, it's not always in the same place. So people that may be up all the way in North Lumpkin County or Dawson County actually can go to the ones that are in their counties instead of having to drive super far away. So my whole thing is I want to be as accessible uh, as possible with people.
Mm, that's great. Let's talk about another fun one about McCormick. He violated the Stock Act. He was 2.5 years late disclosing 2 dozen stock purchases he made while sitting in Congress, and he never responded to any press questions about it. He's a doctor who
Mhm.
presumably took an oath to do no harm, and he's quietly trading stocks while voting on healthcare policy and not telling anyone about it. If you get to Congress, will you commit to a full ban on members trading individual stocks? What do you think about that? And it's been done on the other side of the aisle, right? Like I we know
Both are guilty.
exactly.
Yeah, both have
So how do you
inflated
feel about that stock trading?
banning it. So my thing, I hear banning stock trading, and I want to be very specific with how that it is. If you're an active member of Congress, you have a stock portfolio, I don't want you to not be able to sell it. I don't want you to be able to buy it back. If you want to terminate your ability to sell or buy, is especially like if the market's going to be bad, I don't want you to lose your money in the stock market.
Right.
I don't want you to be able to profit on rebuying it when you know certain bills are being passed before the public does. Or, and I will give an option, my option B is met with heavy, heavy, like financially life-changing fines if you do not report it within 24 hours. So I will give them
Okay.
an option, either a full ban of buying stock as an elected official, or you have 24 hours to disclose it. So that way, however that may be, I mean, as it should be. I mean, I think it's 30 days or something now, but we needed a lot more current, I feel like. So those are
Okay.
my two options. They can deal with that however they want.
You got to work to get it passed now.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to work with everybody else. Okay, on funding, the uncomfortable math is he has on hand $762,000. You've disclosed zero so far. I don't know if that still holds true, but in 2024, his Democratic opponent raised 16,000 and lost by 20 points. You're running a grassroots campaign, but at some point, people powered just ain't gonna get it done, right? So, what is your fundraising target? What's your plan? What's your game plan?
So it's for the meantime, it's been people we know and social media. We've had a great turnout on social media from volunteers, from donors, contributors, people really invested in the campaign. Um, I think now Rich, I think he might be over $1 million right now, at least in his war chest. We
Okay.
are couple of zeros below that.
Yeah.
But you know, everything has been grassroots, and we haven't had to put in much of our own money at all, which has been great.
Mhm.
Um, I would do as much as I could, but I we still have bills to pay and kids to
Yeah.
feed and all that. But honestly, my goal is 250 or 300,000. We
Hmm.
have fundraisers coming up, which is great. We have a fundraiser at the end of the month. Uh, from someone who's has like a private gathering. So that one was going to definitely put us well above what we're at now. Uh, but as far as I mean, really, it's just doing everything we can. I mean,
Yeah.
I talk to people and like, how's your call time doing? And call time is fine when I can do it, but at the end of the day, I'm still
Working.
working. I'm still a dad. I'm still, a million other things going on. So it's really just trying to meet people where they're at, go to as many county meetings as I can go to city hall or city council meetings as well when I can. Um, I'm holding kind of listening sessions and coffee events. So I have a coffee event at the end of this month as well,
Okay.
where we're going to have two different sessions. So really just trying to talk to anyone that's willing to talk or has something to say, or I'm willing to meet them wherever
Get
they're
out
at.
there and meet them. Okay,
Yep.
great. And there is a systemic imbalance, right? Like there's a broader money problem here.
Hmm.
And in 24, House Republicans outraised Democrats by hundreds of millions of dollars. It's kind of been on that side, they are able just to raise so much
Hmm.
money because it's coming from PACs, right? Like
Yeah.
Wall Street and pharma and fossil fuels and he's McCormick alone, like we said, he raised 100 times more than
Yep.
last time, which goes to tell you like who's in his pocket. Um, so and then you're a union guy, you're a camera everyday average American. And so the bigger question is, even if you win, you are walking into a capital and an entire system that is architected around money. And how do you govern for the people when the institution itself has been bought?
I
How do you
I've
not get in there and change in some way? Because that's what so many people are concerned. Once they're in office, it
mhm.
changes. And and you've already said, and I don't mean to keep talking, but you've already said, the salary alone will be good enough for your family. So, but when you've got the lobbyists and everybody knocking at your door, how do you stay true to yourself and true to wanting to be that person?
The question I'm going to ask them is how does this either positively or negatively affect my constituents? And if
Yeah,
I don't hear a good enough answer, there's the door.
yeah, yeah.
Honestly, honestly, because at the end, like people in my district are the ones that I not only represent, but the ones that put their trust in me.
And I'd go a
Eh,
step further to say, how does this positively affect them and negatively? Because it can
Oh no,
be,
no, yes,
right?
I
No, I
misspoke.
know you,
Yes, absolutely,
yeah.
for sure.
But that just hit me. I was like, no, you want to know
What's in
all.
it for them? Like, what's
Yeah,
in it for them, and
exactly.
what are they going to feel in 5, 10 years from this?
Exactly.
I'm willing to break it all down on it. I don't. Sorry, I don't work for the corporations.
Yeah. No, I get it. They've had enough welfare.
They
Uh,
really have.
if you're going to win, but if you don't win the primary, do you commit to helping whoever else does win ahead of
Yep.
November?
Yep. We had a forum the other day, actually, last weekend, and I was the only candidate and I was really proud of that, who had mentioned, regardless of who takes this in May, we have to rally behind them and we have to
Mhm.
support them so that they can beat Rich McCormick. So,
Yeah.
and it was applause, and it was all good stuff. So I'm absolutely, if it ain't me, but if it's not me, we have to make sure that whoever it is can
Whoever it
win,
is.
and it
Yeah,
and is also going to be held accountable to the same
100%.
standards.
All right. Well, that is the end of the questions. I do have a
Awesome.
lightning round. You
Sure.
ready?
Yep.
Okay. Bluey or SpongeBob,
Louis.
right?
Yeah, all day.
Last movie you worked on that you're really proud of,
Last movie I worked on.
or what is a project that you've worked on that you're
I
really proud
I
of?
did I did Strangers. I did the drone. I was a drone assistant camera, drone focus puller on Stranger Things the last season. We shot that in 24.
Fun.
So I mean, that aired last, end of last
Yeah,
year, so it was kind of cool. It was like a 2-year project essentially. But that was great. That
that's
was a lot of fun to see
awesome.
that. Yeah.
My boys would be cool to, yeah, my boys and my husband were very into that. What's the last thing you and Jackie disagreed about?
Probably who needed to do the dishes.
Classic.
Yeah.
Classic. What's your favorite meal?
Ooh, either a brisket sandwich or mac and cheese.
All right, that's
Yeah.
solid. And finish this sentence. The people of Georgia's 7th district deserve a representative who,
Shows up, listens, and gives a shit.
awesome. Perfect way to end it. Thank you so much, Case. I really appreciate
Yeah.
you
Thank
being
you.
here. Awesome. To everyone else, thank you so much for listening. I hope you learned a good bit, and we'll be back next time on the Georgia Politics Podcast.